If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, everybody, join me right now. Back in action, March 29th in Hartford, Connecticut, CES 55, which will be a historic event. It's going to be the first sanctioned event in the actual state of Connecticut that's not at a Foxwoods or a Mohegan Sun, and this is a really big deal. And this gentleman's going to take on Caio Magalhaes. Eric Spicely joins the show. Eric, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So you are a New England guy. This is a pretty big deal, setting the table for future events in Connecticut off the reservations. How excited are you to be a part of this one?
Yeah, I didn't know that because CS has done some shows in Connecticut before, but I realized now that they're Foxwoods. So I didn't know it was historic until you kind of mentioned it. So it's pretty cool.
Well, over the last 10 seconds, how does it feel now that you know?
Yeah, pretty epic, man. I don't really like Connecticut though. So.
Well, Connecticut by association.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that place, so whatever.
No, you're just fighting. There we go. So back in January, you returned to the CES cage where it all started for you as a professional fighter. Your first fight after getting released from the UFC, and you made short work of Leo Pla. You mounted him. You landed those elbows to finish the fight. What was that like getting back in the CES cage after, last being in there 3.5 years or so prior?
It was cool. It was definitely nerve-wracking. It's like, especially after losing 3 in a row, you're kind of like worried that you can't do this anymore or something like that. But it felt good. And it felt good to do it at a place like that felt very familiar, After having 6 fights in the UFC, like I felt very comfortable there and kind of knew everyone and you know how the systems work and who to talk to. And it was the same thing like that when I fought for CES. Like, it's just like old times.
Was there a part of you that, you talked about nerves coming off the 3-fight losing streak? Did it kind of feel like deja vu almost heading into like some of your earlier fights, just kind of feeling that way heading back into that cage? Did you have some of that deja vu moments in your preparation?
Kind of, yeah. It kind of felt like the old days. Like I said, like, it was 20 minutes from my house, Twin River Casino. So it was just kind of like, yeah, just like, if I just felt like the same thing again,
You were very emotional after that victory. Obviously, a lot going on in your mind. What was going through your head when the referee pulled you off of Leo? Was it just like a huge sigh of relief and a lot of weight lifted off your shoulders after getting that finish?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said, after three losses in a row, it's kind of tough. You kind of question yourself a little bit.
You get Caio in a couple of weeks. He was also in the UFC. He was there for, about 3 years or so, and you pretty much got in there right around when his run in the UFC came to an end. He's got some big fight experience under his belt. So when CES called you and offered you this fight, were you familiar with Caio? Did you know anything about him?
Actually, so he had called me out after I beat Alessio Di Chirico. He wrote like some shit on Twitter about how he wanted to fight me really bad.
Oh, no kidding.
And then he was cut like right after that. So it's kind of like perfect how it all came back around, like got him. I want to fight UFC vets. I want to get back to the UFC. I don't want to fight scrubs or anything. So it's tough to get guys with good records and UFC experience. So yeah, I was excited. Took it right away. Didn't even have to think about it. I knew who he was. I know what he's about. One of my teammates here grappled him at a grappling event in Massachusetts somewhere and heel hooked him. So
at Ammo, right? At Ammo.
Yeah. Oliver Tazo.
Oh, you know what? I knew that name sounded familiar. Like I was like, I know that name from somewhere. And I was like, oh, maybe I interviewed him before. I was actually ring announcing that night. Now you just, much like you just found out about the Connecticut thing, it all just came together right there and then. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it must help that there's a little bit.
I've known who he is. I've known who he is for a long time. So
there's a little bit of history there too,
definitely.
Which makes things a little more interesting, right?
Yeah. And then, so he wrote to me on Twitter and said that, and I said, "Oh, I didn't know you were still in the UFC," and I was being dead serious. Like I wasn't trying to be a jerk. And then he flipped out and like started saying, "I wish I still had the screenshots." This is like, it must have been 2.5, 3 years ago after I beat Tashiriko. So it's pretty hilarious.
Wow, it's interesting because like you mentioned, you were a guy coming off a losing streak heading into your last fight. Caio's lost 3 in a row. 5 out of his last 6. Is there like a part of you, since you just kind of went through something like this and is there a part of you that kind of understands mentally what he's going to bring to the table March 29th?
Well, that's the thing. Like, some guys that are on a big losing streak, they kind of either stay on a big losing streak or they like change something and work harder. And you know what I mean? They come out and they're the best they've ever been. So, I mean, it depends. I don't know him. I don't know how he deals with losses, but he's at the same gym. I don't know if he's doing anything differently. But I'm sure he'll be fired up, and I hope it's the best Kyle that we'll see. That's what I'm preparing for. I'm preparing for him to be his best.
What were some of the things that you changed? Some of the different things you did to prepare for your last fight? Coming off your losing streak.
I had moved back from Vegas after I'd lost 2 fights there, and I've been here in Montreal and just training better, smarter. Not putting as much stress on myself. Like normally I overthink everything and doing 12-week camps and I don't know, like I just had more fun this time. And also I've just been learning and working a lot on getting better at striking, getting better and feeling comfortable at everything else. So I don't know. Yeah. Who knows what he's going to come in and do.
Who are some of the guys that you're working with over there to get you ready for this fight specifically?
We kind of have the same guys that are always like, we have a bunch of core guys who are always here. Like Andrew Sanchez is here now. Rory's here. Normally Mandel Nallo, he's always here. He's a killer who fights in Bellator. I can't think of anyone else who's here right now off the top of my head. Bunch of French guys that I can't remember their names too well. But it's a good group of guys here, man. There's a lot of awesome people here.
Now, obviously,
this guy Johan, who's really good. It's nice to spar with.
So you're getting some good work in.
Yeah, always. I mean, there's always high level people here all the time.
When you look at the matchup stylistically, and I know you're familiar with Caio, I'm not sure if you're a guy that breaks down tapes or watches previous fights or anything like that. How does this?
Not too much.
How does this one look for you in terms of what he brings to the cage against what you're going to bring?
We're both, good grapplers. That's kind of our games. I think I have a little bit more refined striking than he does. Like he throws kind of wide shots and bombs, and I kind of throw straight shots. So I think that'll be the difference. I mean, I think this is going to play out on the feet more than it is on the ground. But who knows? I mean, I feel like we're pretty similar. He hits hard, and he likes to get it on the floor. But I think he also gasses a little bit more than I do. He's got a lot of muscle. A little bit of suspect muscle, if you ask me. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
It's a really loaded fight card already. You get the big welterweight title fight. You get the return of Matt Bissett to CES. How do you see this one playing out on March 29th between you and Caio as you get ready for the 2 big ones?
Man, I hope it's a second round KO at least. I plan to just keep it on the feet and box him up and hopefully take him out within 1 to 2 rounds. Because 3 rounds is yikes. That's a long time. I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah, you kind of want what you did the last fight.
Get paid by the round,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Before you get out of here, I wanted to shift gears for a moment because I know that you find yourself more so now than maybe in the past in the world of professional wrestling. I know you had to try it with WWE. How did that come about, and how long have you been in the world of professional wrestling?
I started wrestling like 4 years ago, actually. Yeah, about 4 years ago. Before I got signed to the UFC. And once I got signed, they were like, you need to stop doing that, please. The tryout went great, They didn't offer me a job or anything, but you just got to keep at it. And I have some matches coming up, and it's something that I just really enjoy. It's a lot of fun to me, and it's something I've loved since I was a kid. So, I don't know. I have a lot of respect for it, and it's just like another outlet for me, another kind of creative outlet. So, I have a lot of fun doing that. It's my favorite.
I saw the tweet that Jerry Briscoe sent your way saying that it was nice to meet you and, you did a nice job. Did you get any other feedback from some of those guys like Terry Taylor or anybody else?
No, not really. Briscoe is into more like the, like wrestler, like guys that wrestle in college or like shooters, I guess, like guys that have fighting experience. So, like I said, I had a great match. I got a lot of praise from everybody, but it just didn't work out right now. So, and that happens with a lot of guys, like my trainer's down there. The guy who trained me is at NXT, and he's like, they told almost all these guys that just keep working, and then if you want to be here, you'll get here. Like Matt Riddle, they told him that it took him like a couple of years to get signed. So after his first tryout,
was it Biff Busick? Was he the one who trained you?
Yeah.
I remember.
And Ryan Drew. I don't know if you've ever seen him wrestle, but he's a phenomenal trainer and wrestler himself.
The independent wrestling scene is on this like rocket ship right now, and there's a lot more options out there than there was probably when you broke into the business 4 years ago. So if like the UFC, if the UFC were to call you again, because I'm sure that's, like you said, that's what you want to happen. Is there a part of you that would have to think about that because of the pro wrestling? Because like you'd have the chance to do both outside of it, or to be more like better asked for forgiveness than permission.
So this is the same thing that like when I first got signed to the UFC, like, and they told me to stop wrestling, like Biff Busick was like, wrestling will always be here. Like you can only do UFC for a short amount of time. So like go have your run and then do pro wrestling after if you still want to do it. Like pro wrestling is not going anywhere, but you can't always fight in the UFC at the highest level. You know what I mean? And I love fighting. I would love to be back in the UFC fighting. I think I should be back in the UFC fighting. And that's not because of like what I've accomplished. I just feel like my skills are good enough. So I just got to keep proving that and get back there.
Were you a lifetime fan of professional wrestling? When did you get into it? And if so, who are some of the...
I've been watching it since I was a kid.
Who are some of the guys you used to watch over the years?
Shawn Michaels was like my favorite. I thought it was real. So like that was my first taste of, I guess, combat sports. And then that's how I kind of got into MMA, because I'm like, I wanted to do wrestling, but I didn't know that it was like, kind of like you had to like train, and like it was kind of a secret. It's not like as well advertised as it is for. You can just find any MMA gym, on every street corner. Yeah, man, I used to like a lot of weird guys. Like I was really into like Papa Shango,
yes,
Doink the Clown, just like guys where I'm like, now I look back, I'm like, that was so bad.
Duke the Dumpster Drosy.
Dude, Duke the Dumpster Drosy was serious business, man. You didn't fuck with him. He was the best. Yeah, I kind of started in that era where like everyone had a job gimmick, like
Repo Man.
Skinner was the alligator hunter, and just like weird stuff, man. But yeah, I've been watching ever since I was a kid, and I actually was like a really big fan of WCW more so than WWF. And I would flip back and forth through the Monday Night Raw wars and stuff. Yeah, I was a big fan of WCW.
I miss WCW Saturday night, like before the Monday Night Wars. Yeah. Those are the best.
Yeah,
you always get
Saturday
those.
Night, and I like Thunder, man. I was a big fan of Thunder.
Oh man,
Thursday Night Thunder.
Who was that guy that like debuted on Thunder? Oh, Glacier. I remember when like Glacier was how much of a big deal that was before he came in. So, oh man, good stuff.
The martial arts weapon or whatever. He was so bad.
Our family holidays, like me and my little brother, we'll sit there for hours just going through some of these old gimmicks and just like cracking each other up. We'll go back and forth. Oh yeah, what about Repo Man? And he'll come back with like
Repo Man was serious, dude.
That was Axe from Demolition. I mean, it's kind of crazy going back through all those. We could talk wrestling all day long, man. But you're getting back in the cage. CES at the Connecticut Convention Center in Hartford, Connecticut, March 29th against Caio Magalhaes, live on UFC Fight Pass. Great stuff, Eric. Before we put a bow on this, let the folks know where to find and follow you on the web, social media, sponsors, shout-outs. Please take the floor.
My Instagram is Spice Wonder. My YouTube channel is, I think, Spice TV or something like that. But I have a YouTube channel that I do vlogs on and stuff and kind of make little videos. And Twitter is just Eric Spicely. And yeah, thanks to Engage. They sent me some stuff for this camp. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really have any other sponsors. People used to send me stuff when I was in the UFC, but now it's not so hot, What are you going to do? Such is life.
It's lonely at the top, Eric. That's all I have to say.
It is, man, for sure.
Well, thank you very much for the time, man. All the best March 29th, and take it easy on everybody at the gym here. I mean, they're just trying to train hard, and maybe they get a little bit loud. So looking forward to the fight, man. Thanks.
Have a good one, man. Thank
too.
you. Can we pause for 1 second? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, hold on. Sorry.
Did you just verbally lay at the smack it down?
Of course. course. Fuck these guys. Everyone's always yelling, you know. I can't deal with that.
Oh man, I might put that like the very end of the interview as like a post prod cut. I think I have to. That was so funny, dude. Oh my god.